into some Hollywood news. This week we have a few interesting topics to talk about, including a brand new project that is about to happen. The Oscar-winning director of the documentary Summer of Soul, who is known as Questlove, his full name Amir Questlove Thompson, is officially going to direct a live-action version of the Aristocats. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I want to love it because, I mean, it's Questlove. But at the same time, I'm like, oh man, but I really love the Aristocats, you know? And I didn't quite care for the live action Aladdin. So I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Now, obviously he did not direct the live action Aladdin, but I'm starting to get really salty about how dirty they're doing a lot of my favorite animated Disney movies. Like, it's like, come on guys, come on, really. So I'm going to reserve judgment as much as I can on this one, but I mean, who doesn't love O'Malley the Alley Cat? I mean, and Tulios and just the Aristocats. It was such a cute movie. It's such a classic. So I know he's going to also be overseeing the music for this film, but I am very curious to see the direction he will take the live action Aristocats. Now, obviously he is an Oscar-winning director for his documentary Summer of Soul, so it's not as if he has zero experience in this area. So I'm very curious. I will reserve judgment as much as I possibly can, but I definitely think it's okay, and it's fair to say that I am 50-50 on this at this point. I am towing the line, so to speak. Next up on the docket for Hollywood news is Mandalorian Season 3. Okay, as you guys may or may not know, we've talked about this on The Brain Live with Vince and Taylor, and we've also talked about this quite a bit on this YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel and this podcast, I should say. We have talked about how we're starting to notice a trend of when you go woke, you go broke. Netflix and Disney specifically have lost millions of subscribers, which equates to a lot of money. And we also talked about the Q3 projections. I believe it was Q3. It could have been Q2. For the Disney call with the Warner CEO, David Zaslav. Now, he was talking about and kind of skirting around the issue of how much money they lost with how many subscribers they lost, and how they were really looking towards The Mandalorian as one of their heavy hitters to kind of bring the people back. And unfortunately, a lot of fans of The Mandalorian are starting to kind of drift away. They are very unsatisfied thus far with Season 3 of The Mandalorian. This will be very interesting to me, because this was one of the projects they were banking on to kind of bring themselves back up, so to speak. They only have a few heavy hitters, which includes the MCU and obviously everything that they've done for Star Wars. Those are their main heavy hitters. And so with this news fast on its heels, they are looking at potentially debuting Season 2 of Loki as early as September to potentially make up for this. This will be very interesting. Obviously Loki was slated for this year, but it might be interesting to see if they actually debut it earlier than originally advertised to kind of make up for some of this less than satisfactory debut of the Season 3 of Mandalorian. Now, I have not actually seen it yet, so I definitely want to hear your thoughts on whether or not you are satisfied and happy with the direction of Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Moving right on, we have some new news involving DC Comics. We have covered this topic in length and to great detail, and it's back once again, and that is Joker 2 Folie à Deux. Now, we have seen new photos from their New York set featuring Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, and she is surrounded amidst a host of Gotham City's finest, being the Gotham PD. This looks really cool. It's definitely a complete departure from Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. I can definitely see that. I'm very interested to see how all of this pulls together as sort of a musical adaptation of Joker. And obviously, if you're going to have a musical of this caliber, I think Lady Gaga is the perfect example and the perfect choice to play a character like Harley Quinn. I think this is possibly something she was born to play. So I'm very curious to see how this unfolds, but this is the first actual look in full garb that we are seeing as of Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. You can head on over to IGN.com, comicbook.com, and more to see those photos. And then next up is the MCU. We've got some new MCU news revolving around Captain America New World Order and Liv Tyler. I'm actually kind of excited. I'm a Liv Tyler fan. I loved her in Lord of the Rings, even though her character was put into the films more than what she actually was in the stories. But I really love her. She has such an ethereal look to her. And this is kind of really cool news in my opinion. I agree with a lot of people who actually said this would have been even better in She-Hulk. But since I thought that She-Hulk was a complete disaster of a bomb, I actually like this better for Liv Tyler. So here we go. Liv Tyler is apparently going to reprise her role as Betty Ross in the upcoming MCU film Captain America New World Order. This comes about 16 years after her original portrayal of Betty Ross in The Incredible Hulk. I think this is going to be pretty darn cool. I'm not going to lie. I can't wait to see more news as this comes about. Now, somebody for my Q&A section where I didn't actually get to answer this because we were running so long on time. We usually do because there's so many awesome questions, but they asked me if there was a movie I was looking forward to seeing, and this is it. I have not seen it yet, so no spoilers. John Wick 4. I am so excited to see John Wick 4. I think about as excited as I am for Deadpool 3, to be honest. And that's where we have the latest Hollywood news update and the last one of this episode. John Wick 4 is the biggest franchise debut of the entire John Wick series. So it beats out John Wick 1 through 3. Super amazing. I think this is a perfect example of taking your time with a franchise so that people are actually excited and want to see it, as opposed to shotgunning them, and which is a mistake that the MCU is finally, coming to grips with and turning around for themselves. And honestly, I think the DCU is actually learning from MCU's lesson as well, where they're going to focus on their brand new direction with the co-CEOs of Peter Safran and James Gunn, and they're going to do 2 major features and 2 streaming shows. And I think that's what the John Wick series has done. If you look at the time that's gone through from John Wick 1 to now John Wick 4 in theaters, it is a hit with both audiences and critics alike. It got a 95% on Rotten Tomato and a 95% with Google users and a 4 out of 5 with comicbook.com. That is stellar news. Awesome. This is the biggest debut for the entire franchise of John Wick. In the domestic box office for its opening weekend, they earned $73.5 million. That is huge. The first John Wick film, I think, only did $14 million its opening weekend as the debut film of a future franchise. So that's a huge difference between 14 to 73. That's amazing. I love that for Keanu Reeves. Like, can we all just give a minute to talk about how much we love Keanu Reeves as a human being? Like, seriously. I think one of your goals in life should not only be the adult that you needed as a child, but be more like Keanu Reeves. Like, just be more like Keanu Reeves. Overall, worldwide in the box office, it has so far scored over $137.5 million. And it also claims another record, which I think is also worthy of note. It is now officially the most successful R-rated film of the post-pandemic era. It just dethroned Halloween Kills. So a huge congratulations to every person involved in the John Wick 4. And honestly, let's be real, the entire John Wick franchise. Huge congratulations. Best R-rated film in the post-pandemic era. Huge box office, both domestic and worldwide. I hope for a continued success in the box office for the next several weeks to come.